The Smithfield community foresaw this season years ago. This group held the prophecy, the chosen ones. This was the season Skyview would finally win its first state championship in school history. These Bobcats have won all their lives. Now at 11-0, the only thing standing in the way of their first semifinal appearance since 2007 is upstart Pleasant Grove. But make no mistake, these Vikings are not your everyday 3 seed. After starting 1-3, they were left for dead, written off, forgotten. They've now won 6 of the past 7, including knocking off Jordan in the first round. Can they replicate the upset magic again? It's Powder Blue versus Royal Blue for a ticket to Rice-Eccles Stadium. This is Campus Takeover, brought to you by Trib Preps. Each week we'll visit the campus of one of Friday night's marquee matchups. We'll break down key storylines and talk with players and coaches from both teams. And afterward, we'll pick the winners of the biggest games. Hit it! Deal us a pair of 3. Each episode will highlight 3 breakout players and 3 surprise teams that caught our attention from the previous week. Entering the season, North Sanpete, Spencer Applegarth was considered one of the top returning rushers in the state. He's lived up to that expectation. After rushing for 292 yards and 5 touchdowns in the Hawks' quarterfinal win against Emory, he's upped his season total to nearly 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. Many people would hesitate to classify Bountiful's win against Wasatch as an upset, but according to seedings, it most certainly was. Max Tooele was the main contributor for the Braves' offensive production, rushing for 182 yards and 2 scores. Pleasant Grove receiver Malik Overstreet hauled in 10 receptions for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns to help the Vikings advance to the quarterfinals. Let's focus a little bit more on Pleasant Grove. Unlike Bountiful, most people consider the Vikings' win against Jordan as an upset. The Vikings are one of the hottest teams in the state right now. Can they continue that trend against Skyview? Corner Canyon was fresh off its blowout loss to rival Alta, where it surrendered 45 points. The Chargers were below 500. All indications pointed to an early end to the year. Nope. Corner Canyon stunned Olympus, the top-ranked team from Region 6, with a 27-0 shellacking. Provo's offense is doing this. Provo players are putting up these numbers, blah, blah, blah. Murray stole the spotlight in the first round with its 26-17 upset against the Bulldogs to earn the program its first postseason win since 1996. Skyview is 11-0. Are they legit, Tom?
I think they are. I watched them last year when most of these kids were juniors play one of the best games I saw last year at Roy. Roy beat them in the last second for what was then, I think, the Region 5 championship. Now they've moved up to 5A, and they've turned some heads. They're one of the few unbeaten teams left in the state, and I think that they could do some serious damage.
They've got a great offense and a great defense. They're platooning here for the first time in a long time on both sides of the ball. Which side is better, offense or defense for these guys?
I'm going to go with the offense. Garrison Beach and Bryce Mortensen are probably the best quarterback and combination in the state this year. They've been playing together since they were in elementary school, and I think they're just a real fine pair with a good offensive line, so I like their offense a lot.
So Pleasant Grove started the season 1-3. They were ranked in the top 5 in the preseason. Then they were basically written off. People forgot about them. They've won 6 out of 7. Is this team as good as we thought they were going to be in the preseason?
You know, I think that they are. It's amazing how things have kind of come full circle. You go back to week 1 of Campus Takeover, we went to Pleasant Grove because we thought for sure that their game against Corner Canyon was going to be a great game. Turns out that it was just a rough start for Pleasant Grove. And so then you kind of start to write off the Vikings and you say, well, man, maybe they aren't that good. And then they go, and in the opening round of the playoffs, they knock off Jordan, and all of a sudden you go, they are pretty good. So I think that what we are seeing is what we thought we were going to see. It just took a little bit more time for them to kind of develop into that team.
part of the reason could have been is young Isaac Hamilton was inexperienced at quarterback. He threw 20 interceptions, but now he's playing great. I mean, he was phenomenal against Jordan, threw 4 touchdown passes. Is he the difference? Is that the change? Is Isaac has settled into the offense and is more comfortable at the varsity level?
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely what's happening. It had been a weakness for Pleasant Grove, and through the course of the season, they've made it into a strength. And when they got into an offensive shootout with Jordan, they were able to prevail because they had gotten to the point where they were really proficient throwing the ball.
Speaking of that game against Jordan, I was on my way to Garth Brooks to get my dance on, and you texted me and said, dude, Jordan lost. I was equally surprised. What does that say about Pleasant Grove that they won that game at Jordan?
What it says is that Pleasant Grove's a really good football team, and that Pleasant Grove is a force. They are not an easy out, obviously. They took out a team that, quite honestly, I thought for sure was going to win. I do believe that on last week's episode I said, I was asked, can Jordan lose? And I said, absolutely not going to happen, no chance, no way. I was wrong, and Pleasant Grove showed that you're going to have to play a good game. They can keep up with the best offenses in the state. So don't think that you're just going to be able to outscore them. They're going to keep with you. Defensively, they've proven over the course of the season that they aren't bad defensively, and so you're going to need that full game in order to knock them off.
Jordan's defense is not good. They haven't been good the whole season. We knew that. Skyview is a much different story. Can Pleasant Grove score against this team?
I watched Pleasant Grove play in the first game of the season way back in August against Corner Canyon, and they struggled on offense against a pretty decent defense. I think in this game, Skyview's defense might be the difference. We know that Skyview can score points. The big question is, can Pleasant Grove score points against the Skyview defense here?
What is it going to take for Pleasant Grove to pull off the upset?
I really think that what Pleasant Grove needs to do is it needs to find a way to get into a track meet again. They need to find a way to get points on the board and get them on the board fast like they did against Jordan. I think Pleasant Grove's best chance is an offensive shootout. They showed against Jordan that is a possibility. I think it's going to be tough, though. I really do. I think that if they can do it, they've got a shot just like they did against Jordan. I'm not writing them off. There's no way I'm writing off Pleasant Grove after what they did to Jordan.
What about for Skyview? What does Skyview need to do to move on to the semifinals, Tom?
I think Skyview needs to not make mistakes, and I think they want to keep it out of Malik's hand on the other end of the site. Pleasant Grove's got an excellent receiver and punt returner, do everything. And I think you want to keep it out of his hand as well. But most off, I think Skyview just needs to play their game and take advantage of the home field crowd, cold weather, higher elevation. There's a lot of things that Skyview's got in their favor that will help them in this game, I think.
We are here with Skyview coach Craig Ander. His team is getting ready to play Pleasant Grove in the 5A quarterfinals. Now, you guys are undefeated, and Pleasant Grove started 1-3. Is there more pressure on you guys?
I don't think so. I think it's a brand new season for every team out there right now. It's a one-game season, and that's how we're approaching it. And so we're preparing like we've always prepared, and we're trying to focus like we've always focused, and prepare ourselves for Pleasant Grove, a very good Pleasant Grove team.
Did they wake you up when they beat Jordan last week? I think most people thought Jordan would win that game with their big offense. Was that kind of a wake-up call?
You know, I don't know if it woke us up. We were excited to play whoever. We haven't seen Pleasant Grove play before that. We have seen Jordan play because we had some film of Brighton and Jordan, and so we knew Jordan was a good team. But we watched film, and Pleasant Grove's a very fine team. They get after it. They have some fine athletes, and so it'll be a good challenge for us.
You've been the head coach here for a while. Did you know this particular group all through Little Lake? Obviously, they've won at every level. Did you know this year could be special?
Yeah, we did. You know, last year we returned most of our team from last year. And so we've had high hopes for them, and they've completed that. You know, I feel like at times I'm driving a Ferrari, and all I got to do is stay out of the way or don't mess it up. But the kids work extremely hard, and they're very competitive, and so it's been a fun year for us.
Now, all 4 Region 1 teams won opening round games. Did that send a statement to the rest of the state that Region 1 is not to be trifled with much?
Well, I at least sent a statement to Region 2 because that's who we matched up with. But, I don't know what that means to the other regions. I until you get out and you play teams that are in the other regions, you kind of get a feel for it then. So I think it sent a statement to Region 2, but other than that, it's a one-game season.
Walking over here, one of your assistant coaches was jabbing at us for not enough publicity for your defense. It's because your offense is great, but your defense is really good as well. What makes them so special?
That's a great question, and I think number one is just they want to be good. I think that's the key, but it starts up front with our D-line. Those guys, they're able to stop the run, and when they stop the run, they're able to go after and get some sacks because teams got to throw the ball at that point. And so we got great linebackers behind them. They're physical, they work hard, they hit hard, they know their assignments, and when they do those kind of things, we're successful.
I've said it a couple times that if Garrison Beach was a couple inches taller, he might be one of the highest recruited athletes in the state. Why do you think maybe he's getting a little overlooked right now? Just because of his height?
I think so. I can't imagine any other reasons why. You watch film and, he has an off night and he still throws 65%. And so he's a great athlete, and I'm sure some schools will start recognizing him as we have success.
If you wanted to tell a Salt Lake area audience one thing about Skyview and the Smithfield area, what message would you give those guys down south?
I'd tell them what they think. We're just a bunch of farm boys out here running around with our heads cut off, having a great time. So we love it out here. We love being in our little valley. It's funny, whenever we talk to teams from Salt Lake or Provo, they feel like they've got to go to Alaska to come play us. But we have to go down there all the time. It's the same distance whether you're going there or you're coming back. So we're excited, and I think we're a good team. We're a force to be reckoned with.
How often in the discussion does it come up the fact that this school's never won a state championship?
It's come up. I don't know how to respond to that or what to say to it.
But is it like a motivation?
It is. The kids do. They want to be one of the first, and not that we're playing for a state championship yet, but I think that is in the back of their mind and something they use for motivation.
Trevor's talked a lot about it. 5A is incredibly deep this year. How do you feel about being in 5A as opposed to 4A a year ago?
5A is deep this year is how I feel about it. There's some good teams. I personally know 4 of the teams that are left out of the 8. And any one of those teams could make a run, and it would not surprise me to see in a state championship game.
We are here with Skyview quarterback Garrison Beach and his receiver Bryce Mortensen. They're getting ready to play Pleasant Grove in the 5A quarterfinals. Now, you guys are undefeated. Being that you haven't lost a game, is there more pressure, or is it just another game to you guys?
We feel like this is just another game. We're just preparing like it's any other game we've prepared for this season. We're not really changing anything in how we think or prepare for it.
Do you think that, being that you're this far north, that maybe you don't get as much respect as the city teams?
I feel like a little bit in like the last couple of years, but I feel like we're starting to get more this year. And given the level that we've been playing at, teams are just starting to respect us a little more and say, oh yeah, there's some good players up at Skyview. So
for you, Garrison, what is it like having a receiver like Bryce?
It's a blessing, to be honest. Like, you don't get a lot of guys in the state like Bryce. He's got great speed and great size and good hands, so it's awesome to have him on the team. And I've had him since we were 8 years old, been playing together, so it's been good to have him.
I've said it a couple times that I think you're one of the better quarterbacks in the entire state. Do you think defenses are starting to recognize that too? And do you believe that you're one of the better quarterbacks in the state too?
I don't want to brag, so I'm just going to say no comment on that. And I try to prepare like I am, just to play at the top of my game every week. And if defenses are starting to recognize that, that's obviously a huge honor. But it's honestly something I don't really think about. I just go out and play my game every week and try and help our team win.
Bryce, who has a better offense, you or Pleasant Grove?
That's a tough matchup, with Hamilton and Malik. I know both those guys, definitely a good duo, but I mean, of course, I'm going to stick with ours. But they're definitely, they have their strengths.
How often does the fact that this school has never won a state championship, how much does that come into discussion with this team?
That's definitely been one of our biggest goals ever since we started playing here. I mean, freshman year, 4 years ago. So it comes up a lot, and that's what we're shooting for.
What do you think a state championship would mean for this Smithfield community?
I think it would be huge. This is one of the last – I think this is our last class to come through Skyview and be in the 5A ranks that's been together our whole lives. So it would obviously mean a lot to our community and to our team and everybody being able to win a state championship this year.
I wouldn't say your defense is disrespected, but they kind of lie in the shadow because of how good your offense is. You two probably know better than anybody how good your defense is. What makes them so difficult to move the ball on?
I'd say the first thing is those front four. I think those are some of the best defensive linemen in the state. They put a hard rush on the QB, and they're definitely good run and pass stoppers. The defensive backs are just as good, though. I mean, practicing against them every day, it makes both of us better, defense and offense.
That brings us to everybody's favorite part of the show is Bickham. Kevin has been...
Excuse me, Trevor. Please refer to me appropriately. Throughout the remainder of this segment, I shall be referred to as the champ.
You know...
Yep. That's right, this guy. Sit down. Here we go.
Everybody needs at least 1 week to feel special. We're going to afford that to you.
Smart guy. I'm not Brennan. I know how to pick a game.
Well, Brennan is still in last place. It doesn't matter.
Tom, really, is there any surprise? I mean, honestly, Brennan in last place, come on. We knew it, right?
He just likes to stir up controversy and pick games and try to be an upset guy. And, it's fun to do that once in a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
But Kevin does have a one-game.
Who?
The champ.
Thank you.
The champ has a 1-game lead over Tom and myself. Eric Walden, the prep editor at the Tribune, is in 4th place, and Brennan is in 5th. The first game is Juab versus Juan Diego. It's going to be at Southern Utah University. Juan Diego has lived up to its expectations. They have only lost 1 game to Murray. Juab is starting to play a little bit better. They were a little shaky there in the midseason. Do they have what it takes to knock off the Soaring Eagle?
In a word, no. I'm still of the opinion that Juan Diego, as judge, came up to 3AA, should be a 3AA program, an urban private school. That said, Juan Diego's got everything going for it, and I would be absolutely shocked to see Juab pull this win off.
Tom, I have to disagree with you. I understand the angst about Juan Diego being in 3A, but you got to play who's in front of you. It's not the kids' fault. It's just where they are. I really like Juan Diego in this ball game. I think that they have an offense that has the ability to score some points. I think that they also have the ability to control the ball with their running attack. I think Juab has played really well. Juab made it to the state title game last year. They've had a really good run. They just keep running in to these Catholic schools. It's been Judge Memorial the last couple of years. This year it's Juan Diego. And unfortunately, I think that the result is going to be the same. Juab has a decent running game. They move the ball pretty well. They really took care of Union. I think that they proved some things in their rematch against Union in the opening round, but I think that Juan Diego proves to be a little bit too tough.
Football is a very tough game, and you're going to make mistakes when you don't see things very often. That's Juan Diego in a nutshell. They run the triple option, and they don't use it as a novelty. In a world right now that is so infatuated with the spread offense, they practice this triple option. It's their offense. It's hard to defend. It forces teams to make mistakes. I think Juab is going to make a couple too many, and Juan Diego's moving on to the 3A championship. Now, we've talked a lot about Region 1's supremacy. That might be more of a reflection on Region 2 than Region 1. We're going to find out exactly as Mountain Crest goes to Bingham. Can the Mustangs upset the 2-time champs?
I don't think that Mountain Crest can beat Bingham down in South Jordan. I'm not sure anybody beats Bingham this year, although if things go as expected, a Lone Peak Bingham game with 2 undefeated powers. I just looked at Max Preps today, and Max Preps computer rankings actually have Lone Peak above Bingham. So I think Bingham is still a team that has something to prove, and I think they're going to prove that they're not going to get beat at home in these seniors' last home game.
Trevor, I would have come really close to taking Mountain Crest in this game up until their 5-0 loss to the guys behind me, Skyview. I felt really good about Mountain Crest. I really liked their quarterback Juab. I really thought Mountain Crest was going to be a dark horse, and then that 5-0 performance just convinced me otherwise. Plus, when you're going against Bingham, Bingham is so strong. Man, that team has so much talent on offense, so much talent on defense. Special teams, they can kick field goals like it's their job. Those guys are just good. That Bingham team is solid, and I just don't think the Mountain Crest has the weapons to knock off Bingham. I think because what I think you have to do is I think you have to have a really dynamic offense. And I'm not saying that Mountain Crest doesn't. I think, like I said, I'd like Juab. I really like him at quarterback for Mountain Crest. But you also have to have a really dynamic defense. And then you also need Bingham to make some mistakes in order to knock them off. I just don't see kind of all those three things happening in this game, and for that reason, I'm going to go with Bingham.
Tom mentioned that Max Preps has Lone Peak ranked ahead of Bingham. I think whoever's making those rankings at Max Preps is probably putting a little bit too much Kahlua in their coffee, because there's just no chance that you can have Bingham not number one. They've won 35 consecutive games against in-state opponents. It's going to be 36, and it's going to be in convincing fashion. People in Hiram might not like me this season. I just haven't been on board with Mountain Crest. I saw them against Roy and against Skyview. They struggled to move the ball. They don't have that dynamic offense. I think it's going to be a shutout against Bingham, and I think they'll win by at least 3 touchdowns. So speaking of anemic offenses, that brings us to North Summit versus Beaver. North Summit was our preseason number 1 in the 2A classification. They have since dropped 3 games, all because they have failed to generate points. Beaver has a great offense, a great defense. They've kind of been the surprise team this season in 2A. I don't know if we expected them to be as good as they have been. Do they advance to the 2A championship, Tom?
I'm going to say, in this case, leave it to the Beavers. I'm going to go with Beaver in this game. I think that Cedar City's right in their backyard, and North Summit just hasn't shown that it can score. Until they can show that they can score, I think that they're going to be in trouble, and I like the Beavers in this game.
I think Beaver wins, and that hurts. The only reason it hurts is because I want to pick against Tom. I think North Summit is a pretty decent team. They aren't bad. They've had a good little run here. I think Trevor's a little nuts about the anemic offense. Yeah, so it hasn't performed as well as you want all the time. Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. However, I think Beaver is the whole package. From what I've seen of Beaver on tape, I really like that defense. It's an attacking defense. It has a tendency, it can make you make mistakes because it's a good defense, especially for a school that size. I think that's actually what's going to make the difference is Beaver's defense, and I like Beaver to win.
Beaver's quarterback is one of the most dynamic players in the 2A classification. He can run, he can pass, and he leads the team in interceptions. I think that North Summit will struggle to contain him. It'll still be a low-scoring game because North Summit's defense is great, but eventually he's going to break through. Beaver wins a close one in a low-scoring affair. Most people were expecting Olympus to be involved in this next game, but Corner Canyon had a much different story to tell. They shut out the Titans to advance with the upset. They are going to play Highland at Highland. It's a game that's going to feature 2 offenses that like to get downhill. They use that physical approach in the trenches. It should be a war on Friday afternoon. Who wins it?
To me, of the 7 games we're picking, this is the toughest to pick. I saw Corner Canyon get beat in the first game against Pleasant Grove, and I saw East just absolutely dominate Highland. In this case, I'm going to go with the Rams without a whole lot of confidence, but I think at home with their option will create some problems for Corner Canyon, and I like Highland in this game.
Reminded of a little ditty that they like to sing down in San Diego. Superchargers. Give me Corner Canyon, and here's why. I was very impressed with their shutout of Olympus. I really liked Olympus. We were there during one of our previous weeks. We saw Meyer running, and boy, that kid can run. And Corner Canyon's defense shut them out. Shut the door, slammed it, closed, done, nothing. 0 points. That's an impressive showing. It's kind of amazing. I already said earlier when we were talking about Pleasant Grove about how things have kind of come full circle here on Campus Takeover. That first game, it was Pleasant Grove against Corner Canyon. That was the one that we were talking about. There was so much hype about Corner Canyon going in. Corner Canyon is a team that, again, I think it's kind of like Pleasant Grove. It just took a little bit of time to kind of develop and mature. It's like a good cheese. It just needs a little time to age. And once it does, man, it's solid. It's sharp. and so that's why I'm going to go with Corner Canyon. I think that they're the better team here. I do think it'll be a close game. I do think that it plays to Highland's favor that it is at Highland. I think anytime, especially in the playoffs at this point, where you have a home game, it's your fans there yelling and screaming at the other team. It helps you. But in the end, I think Corner Canyon's going to go on the road. I think they're going to get it done.
In a game in which I agree with Tom might be the toughest to pick in any classification, it's going to be close, and Corner Canyon has shown a proclivity to falter late in fourth quarters this season. They've lost against Maple Mountain, Pleasant Grove late in that game. They lose close games. They don't have that experience. They have yet to shown that they can do that. I like Highland in this game. One of the breakout players, well, maybe not even a breakout player because he had a great year last year as well, but really burst onto the scene here is North Sanpete's running back Spencer Applegarth. Can Morgan, who they're going to face in the 3A semifinals at SUU, can Morgan stop Applegarth?
I was just at Morgan for volleyball story last week. They've got a nationally ranked volleyball team. I like that town. I think they're very tough, and without knowing admittedly a whole lot about these two teams, Morgan's got the stronger tradition. One other thing I'd like to say about Morgan is they just named their stadium after Jan Smith and coached the last few years of his career in a golf cart. It was one of the great stories that I covered in my career, and I'm glad to see him name the stadium after Jan Smith. So I'm going to go with Morgan in this.
I like North Sanpete. I like Applegarth, who Trevor talked a little bit about. I think he's really shown himself to be an able running back. I think he's done a heck of a job. The problem is he's running into a great defense with Morgan. And Morgan, the Trojan defense has looked better than the USC defense at times, if you know what I'm saying. I think Morgan's going to take care of North Sanpete in a really tight ball game that's going to feature a lot of hard hitting and just a great game.
As the old adage goes, defense wins championships. Morgan has one of the best in the classification. North Sanpete, although they have a good running back, their quarterback has shown to be a little inconsistent with ball security. He might throw one or two picks. That'll be all that the Trojans need to advance to set up a potential showdown with Juan Diego. We've mentioned it a couple times when we've discussed Tooele on this show that they have reached a point in the program under Kyle Brady in which they're winning the games they're supposed to win and they're losing the games they're supposed to lose. That's the makeup of a good team but not a great team. They're supposed to lose against Hurricane. Even at home, they're the higher seed. Most people would side with Hurricane in this game. Hurricane traveling to Tooele. Does Tooele break through and win a game they're not supposed to win?
The interesting thing about this game is that in the last 3 years, a team that's finished third or fourth in Region 9 has actually come up and not only made it to Rice Eccles, but has actually won the state tournament. So Hurricane fits that bill, and I think that they move on to the semifinals, and you might even see the Tigers in the finals.
Here's what I've learned in my short time in Utah dealing with high school football. You don't bet against old-time Region 9 teams. You just don't do it. You do it at your own peril, and I'm not going to do that. That's what I've learned. I'm going to take Hurricane because I think that they have been battle tested. I think that when you play down there, when you have to play against Desert Hills, when you have to play against Pineview, when you have to play against Snow Canyon, when you have to play against Cedar, when you play those teams, it battle tests you and it gets you ready for the postseason. It gets you ready to play in November. And I think that that's what happened. That's what is going on with Hurricane. I think that they have shown over the course of the season that glimpses of really good football. And I think that Tooele is a decent team. I think that that's a team that has a lot to be proud of, a lot to celebrate this season. But I think that their season comes to an end this week. I think that Hurricane is going to continue this trend of the old-time Region 9 schools coming in, getting it done, and getting the chance to play at Rice Eccles.
Last week I said that Alta had a psychological advantage over Kearns because they had been there. They have a history of winning in the playoffs. That's exactly what is with this game here. Hurricane has been to the championship. They've won the championship. Although Tooele has, but it has been since 2002 since they really had a team that could contend for a championship. I like where the Buffaloes program is headed, but they're not going to win this game. Hurricane is moving on. Right behind us, Skyview is practicing for their upcoming game against Pleasant Grove. They're attempting to secure their first semifinal appearance since 2007. This is a program that has never won a state championship, and this particular group has been the center for many, many years of that feeling that this could be it. This could be the year that Skyview does it. For them to do it, they have to beat Pleasant Grove, which is not your usual 3 seed. Do they get it done at home, Tom?
No matter how you slice this Cache Valley cheese, Skyview gets it done at home. I like the Bobcats in this one.
Here's what it comes down to. Trevor, I know that you've talked a lot about championships and when is Skyview going to win one and that they haven't and maybe this is the year, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing is that it's too early. We can't be talking about that. We're at the quarterfinal level here. We're talking about the quarterfinals. We aren't talking about championships here. But I will tell you that Skyview is going to reach the state semifinal level because they're going to take care of Pleasant Grove. I think that Skyview's offense is pretty stinking good. They have the ability to move the ball through the air. Earlier we heard from their quarterback who's really good. He has weapons at receiver. They just move the ball well. And then when the other team has the ball, they stop them. Just look at that win over Mountain Crest. I mean, really, 5-0. Now, okay, you can say, well, Kevin, you're being an idiot because you just told me that Skyview has a really good offense. Yeah, I know. Because here's the thing, is that Mountain Crest had pretty good defense too. So what I really like here is I like Skyview's offense and defense to come together and take care of Pleasant Grove. I'm not going to say that Skyview's going to blow out Pleasant Grove. And the reason I'm not going to say that is because Pleasant Grove showed me last week that you can't count out the Vikings. I give Pleasant Grove a ton of credit for beating Jordan. That was a phenomenal win. That is something that those kids should cherish, celebrate, do everything you need to really recognize that accomplishment. But I don't think that they're going to be able to get by Skyview.
Boy, I didn't know you were a coach, Kevin. One game at a time. We can't look ahead to the championship. Come on, you're in the media. That's what we do. We look ahead, we analyze. Yeah, they haven't won a state championship ever. This school is really old. They've never won one, so let's talk about it. But they're on the correct path. They're going to beat Pleasant Grove because of their defense. The assistant coach was jabbing me earlier when we got here. When are you going to talk about defense? And I told him to read my articles because I have talked about Skyview's defense ad nauseum this year. They are very good. They're very deep, and they are going to shut down Pleasant Grove. So that's going to do it from Cache Valley. It's the quarterfinals this Friday, and we'll see you next week on Campus Takeover.